What's going on, guys? Welcome into the Bulls Report. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we have a fun one because we are looking at 3 moves that I believe could help the Bulls retool this roster. Not going rebuild on today's video. 3 moves that could help the Bulls retool and maybe, just maybe, even compete in the West or Eastern Conference next season. But first off, guys, if you guys want the Bulls to just be active this offseason, I think if we had to go through all major sports and look at every single team, just roster moves over the last couple of years, I guarantee you the Bulls will rank dead last. But if you want a fun and active offseason here in Chicago, just drop a like on today's video. Get the good vibes going. Send the good mojo to the Bulls front office. Now, before we dive into the 3 moves, I do want to shout out Bloody Horns Podcast on Twitter. I saw them tweet this out last night after the Timberwolves-Nuggets Game 7, and I thought it was pretty interesting, and I wanted to give you guys my thoughts on it. So first off, just want to give a shout-out to Bloody Horns Podcast. But the first step on their perfect offseason plan for Chicago was sending Zach LaVine to the New York Knicks for Julius Randle. Now, this is an interesting one. There's a lot to break down on here, especially from the Knicks side of things. And, you know, here at Chat Sports, I do a lot of work covering the Knicks channel, so I feel pretty tapped in with what they would want to do this offseason. That's why I do expect them to be aggressive. You know, with where the Knicks are, I think they're just looking at that, you know, another scorer next to Brunson. You know, obviously injuries were the biggest reason why they didn't reach the conference finals this season. But, you know, I do expect the Knicks to be aggressive this summer, look at every avenue of possibility because they got a ton of draft picks, actually got a decent amount of cap space as well. So, you know, I do expect New York to be in the buyer's market. And, you know, the one kind of however point on, you know, LaVine for Randle, and obviously we're going to have to go through contracts and somehow match salaries and all that. But to all the Knicks fans that are potentially watching this video, I really doubt that New York would view Zach LaVine as that needle-moving piece to get them over the top. Like, they already have a ton of good guards. They love what they have in DiVincenzo, and you can make an argument that DiVincenzo is probably more effective with that Knicks team than a guy like Zach LaVine is. But maybe they're looking at LaVine as a true 3-level scorer, more of a guy you can throw the ball to and have Brunson play a little more off ball. So I doubt that the Knicks would want LaVine, but, you know, we're just basing this off of what my man Bloody Horns had to say. But however, on Julius Randle, like, let's start with that. I would love Julius Randle on the Bulls. I understand his playoff, you know, just lack of performance is definitely of concern. His game definitely, you know, it doesn't elevate. It goes down in the playoffs. But in terms of just a regular season player, man, like, he has been consistent over the last couple of years. Obviously, injuries this past season, getting shoulder surgery. You know, he was not able to close out this year with New York. But, you know, putting up solid numbers, and he's always been fairly efficient. You know, his 2021-22 season was his worst of his NBA career, you know, by far, only averaging 20 points a game. The efficiency, you guys see it on screen, just, you know, not up to his standard. But these past 2 years with Jalen Brunson there, he's been really good. And maybe Kobe White could, you know, obviously not as good as Jalen Brunson, but maybe he could offer that same sort of support that Brunson offered to Randle if he would somehow end up in Chicago. But averaging 25 a game over the last couple of years and being very, very efficient. And when you think of Julius Randle, I think of big and physical style of play. And that's what the Bulls need to get. They need to get bigger. They need to get more physical, because if you guys have been watching these NBA playoffs, clearly the NBA has made a decision where they are going to let teams get a lot more physical, let the hand check get back into play. And a guy like Julius Randle, even though he hasn't been able to perform recently in the postseason to his standard, like, I think maybe you could chalk that up to injuries and just, you know, him not really being able to get in a rhythm heading into the playoffs. So I think if you add a guy like Randle, you're going to add some great rim pressure ability, which he offers, and you're also just going to become a more physical basketball team. I mean, he's 6'9". He looks like he's built like LeBron James out there. So, you know, obviously Randle has his, weaknesses, but I think his strengths would really, you know, cover a need on this Bulls roster. But you guys let me know, would you trade for Julius Randle? You know, pretty controversial topic, I must say, but you guys let me know. Give me a T for trade or give me a P for pass down in the comment section if you would be down to send Zach LaVine to New York for Julius Randle. Now, number 2 on the perfect offseason plan, I love this one. It was Nikola Vucevic and pick 11 for Josh Giddey. I know the alarms are going off in your head. Why would he give up Vooch and a pick for a guy like Josh Giddey? Well, here's why. I am moving off Nikola Vucevic at any cost this offseason. This is top priority. I said originally, I think moving off Zach LaVine is my top priority. I take that back. I was completely wrong. Moving off Vooch is bar none what the Bulls need to accomplish first this offseason. He is terrible. You guys have already heard my rant on Vooch. I could go on a whole 10-minute spiel on how I just think he is he puts up some of the best fake numbers in NBA history. I could go on, for hours about that. But in terms of that move, Vooch and pick 11 for Giddey, I would hate to give up the number 11 pick. No doubt about it. I really do want the Bulls. Like, if I had to go my ideal perfect offseason plan, it would start with, creating this youth movement in Chicago and, really starting to pivot to, truly being a team that is built through the draft. And just too many times, the Bulls have been trying to put a Band-Aid on an open wound. And I think how you fix that is you hit up the draft. But, looking at Vooch's numbers here, and I think the Thunder, I think they could want him. But, it is incredible. Like, you look at these numbers and you are saying to yourself, oh, this guy's a top 8 center in the National Basketball Association. No doubt about it. Averaging 18 points a game, 10-plus rebounds, pretty efficient from the field. But you guys see the three-point percentage up on screen right now. He loves taking the three. He loves the pick-and-pop style of play. And he's terrible at it. He shot 29% from three this past season, averaging damn near 4 attempts per game. That's not having self-awareness, and I just, Vooch just frustrates me more than any player in possibly NBA history. But I do think the Thunder, out of any team, I don't think a lot of teams are looking at Vooch and being like, man, we could use that guy. Out of any team, though, I think Vooch would make a whole lot of sense next to a guy like Chet Holmgren, who is so dominant defensively, and you would also have an ability to, let's just say the offense isn't going for Oklahoma City. You could just throw the ball down there to Vooch on the low block, and you wouldn't be asking him to do too much because necessarily he would be the fourth option there in OKC. But I do want to get you guys my thoughts on Josh Giddey as how I am higher on him than most people, I believe. But first off, I want to give a huge shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. If you guys download the Prize Picks app and use promo code CLNS, we will match your first deposit only, into your account up to $100 and put your basketball knowledge to the test with the NBA Conference Finals finally here. And this is the lineup I'm rolling with for Game 1 between the Celtics and the Pacers. Jason Tatum, I'm taking his more on 10 rebounds. He's been killing it on the glass this entire postseason. And TJ McConnell, probably the NBA's best kept secret in my opinion. He's been cooking this whole playoff run, so I'm going to take the more on his 10 points. And also I think Tyrese Halliburton. I think he's gotten his kind of feet wet in this playoff run, so I'll take the more on his 19.5 points. But if you guys want to fade my picks, ride my picks, whatever you guys do, we just ask you guys to do it at Prize Picks. And when you're making your first deposit into your account, take advantage. Use promo code CLNS, and we will match your first deposit up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. Withdraw your winnings at any time with Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Now, I was just teasing a little bit, some TJ McConnell on today's show, and I wanted to go side by side here with Josh Giddey and TJ McConnell because I have seen the impact firsthand on how good a guy like TJ McConnell can be, and I think Josh Giddey could offer that for Chicago. I think you have your starting backcourt of the future, no doubt, in Ayo Dosunmu and Kobe White. But a guy like Josh Giddey off the bench, I would be very intrigued in an option like that. He had a very good year for OKC, did struggle in the playoffs, but I just think that was more due to, his fit with the players around him. But I think if you allowed Giddey to completely man a second unit and you put shooters and you put really athletic wings around him, I think he could have some TJ McConnell level of production. So obviously these guys play different, but in terms of just generating dribble penetration, these are two of the best in the league at it. And, I think he could really be an engine, an offensive engine on the bench for most teams. And I think, with Chicago specifically. But number 3 of the perfect offseason plan that I saw is a DeRozan sign and trade for Jarrett Allen. And like I was saying at the top of today's show, I want the Bulls to get bigger and more physical. Well, a guy like Jarrett Allen, he fits both those boxes. And now I know you might be saying, why would the Cavs want to add another guard? Well, we did get this report that Donovan Mitchell he grew frustrated with some of his younger Cavs teammates. And now let's kick it to this. Well, let's just say if the Cavs decide to keep Mitchell and move off Darius Garland, I could see them being very interested in a guy like DeMar DeRozan. Hence, Donovan Mitchell, you just said it. I'm frustrated with some of my younger teammates. Well, you go get a veteran in there like DeMar, pair him up next to, D. Mitch, who I think DeMar would have the self-awareness to be the second option. I think it makes a whole lot of sense for Cleveland. And if you could somehow, the Chicago Bulls, swing Jarrett Allen in a move like this, sign me up any day of the week. This dude's a stud. And, his archetype of center is the one I would prefer on this roster 100% in comparison to a guy like, obviously, Nikola Vucevic. I mean, he's still averaging around 15 a game, hitting the glass, an elite rim protector, and just obviously a whole lot more efficient as his field goal percentage has been in the 60s, over the past 4 years. But could you imagine if this was the Bulls lineup we rolled out this next season of Kobe White, Ayo, bring back Patrick Williams, Randle at the 4, and Jarrett Allen at the 5, and then you still had guys, that come off the bench, like a Josh Giddey, like a Caruso, like a Phillips, like a Terry, and even if the Bulls decide to bring back a guy like Andre Drummond, I would like this unit a whole lot more than the team they've been rolling out over the past couple of years. But my only problem with this plan, and I like it, I actually think the Bulls will make the playoffs next season, no doubt, with this lineup, but is it really a needle mover? Is the goal to make the playoffs and, potentially make the second round, or is the goal to win NBA championships? That's a question you got to ask yourself. But I love this idea. Really shout out to Bloody Horns Podcast. I saw it on Twitter, and I just kind of want to make a full video about it. But you guys let me know. What are your thoughts on this plan? Obviously, a lot would have to go right, like the whole LaVine for Randle thing. You would somehow have to figure that whole shebang out. But you guys let me know. What are your thoughts on this plan? If the Bulls could somehow pull off all of those moves, and that was the lineup we were rolling with in Chicago next season. I do want to say thank you guys so much for watching today's show. Love the support on the channel as of recently. And I'm just hoping our Bulls, get active this offseason. Do something. Get out of this, purgatory zone of the NBA. I'm just begging you guys. I'm just begging them. But if you guys haven't already, hit that sub button. Lock us in as you go to Bulls YouTube channel and podcast. See y'all next time. As always, go Bulls, baby.